continues to brutalize us. And I will never stop saying, not only do we need to disinvest in police, but we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Presley, I think is her name. They call themselves the Squad. I consider them to be fools.
Welcome back. Have you ever noticed how some of the people who've benefited the most from this country through safety, education, and positions of power end up being some of its harshest critics? It's a perspective that raises a lot of questions. Today, we're looking at two intense clips featuring Rand Paul and John Kennedy as they directly address Ilhan Omar and members of the Squad. They don't hold back, and the exchange is definitely heated. Let's dive in.
I'm in a town where we have a lot of people who are refugees who have come, some from Somalia, some from Bosnia. I've never heard one of them say that America's a terrible place or be unappreciative of our country. Most of them are thankful. I've met people who've come here from behind the Iron Curtain that got away from communism. They're some of the best Americans we have because they really appreciate how great our country is. And then I hear Representative Omar say, "Oh, America's a terrible place. I'd love there to be justice, and there's no justice here." It's like, well, she came here and we fed her, we clothed her, she got welfare, she got school, she got health care, and then lo and behold, she has the honor of actually winning a seat in Congress, and she says we're a terrible country. I think that's about as ungrateful as you can get. And so while I'm not saying we forcibly send her anywhere, I'm willing to contribute to buy her a ticket to go visit Somalia. And I think she could look and maybe learn a little bit about the disaster that is Somalia, that has no capitalism, has no God-given rights guaranteed in a constitution, and has about 7 different tribes that have been fighting each other for the last 40 years. And then maybe after she's visited Somalia for a while, she might come back and appreciate America more.
There are a lot more important issues in front of the United States Congress and the American people than who tweets what to whom. So let me say it one more time. I thought in the president's original tweet, I thought it was a poor choice of words. I think I know what the president meant, and he clarified later and said, look, if you're not happy in America, leave. Just leave. And I agree with that. But his original articulation of that concept, in my opinion, fell short of the mark. Number two, frankly, I don't know why the president felt the need to tweet on this subject at all. You know, when you argue with a fool, you just prove there are two. And I consider Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Presley, I think is her name. They call themselves the Squad. I consider them to be fools. They hate America. They think America was wicked in its origins, and it's even more wicked today. They ought to be thanking America instead of calling America evil and wicked and racist. But this is America, and they have the right to their opinion. But I don't like to see the president even dignify their point of view. Besides that, I think that the Squad, as they call themselves, they are destroying the Democratic Party. You know, when your opponent is screwing up, don't interrupt him. Let him go. I mean, just looking at this from a political standpoint, if I didn't know better, I would think the members of the Squad were GOP plants. I mean, they think that illegal immigration, socialism, higher taxes, abortion are all moral goods. They think America, Israel, free enterprise are moral bads. That's not what most Americans believe. And that's kind of where I am on the subject. The president has explained his position. He has said, look, here's what I meant. If you're not happy living in America, leave. It's a free country, and I agree with that assessment.
All right, there's a lot to unpack here. So let's start with Rand Paul, because he touched on something that resonates with a lot of people, what some see as a gratitude gap. Paul's argument is straightforward. He points to refugees who fled real oppression, people who escaped life behind the Iron Curtain or conflict zones like Bosnia. In his view, many of them express deep appreciation for the United States because they've experienced the alternative firsthand. He contrasts that with Ilhan Omar, noting that the U.S. offered her opportunities, support, and eventually a seat in Congress, an extraordinary achievement. From his perspective, her criticisms of the country feel at odds with that experience. When Paul suggests she look at the alternative, including his controversial remark about visiting Somalia, he frames it as a reality check rather than an insult, arguing that direct comparison might change how America is viewed. Then there's John Kennedy, who delivers his points in a sharp, memorable way. His comment about arguing with a fool reflects his broader criticism of what he sees as extreme positions within the Squad, including figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Kennedy's core argument is that some rhetoric goes beyond critique and frames America as fundamentally flawed from its founding to today. He questions whether those views are about reform or something more sweeping. At the heart of all this is a bigger debate: how far criticism of a country should go and where the line is between pushing for change and rejecting the system entirely. The takeaway here is that while the U.S., like any country, has its imperfections, opinions differ widely on how it should be discussed and improved. Some see strong criticism as necessary for progress, while others view it as unfair or excessive. What do you think? Are these criticisms a needed push for change, or do they go too far?